Hello, I'm Carol Hilty, Superintendent of the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind, CSDB. Welcome. I'm happy that you have decided to watch this program. I hope that you enjoy it. We welcome your feedback.
Learning from adult role models who are blind or low vision, presented by Outreach Programs, the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind. The CSDB logo is displayed with the tagline, Learning, Thriving, Leading. Our presenter, Mary, is standing in a University Commons area. Captions are below on screen. Title, Mary.
So my name is Mary, and I was born totally blind. Through retinopathy of prematurity, so technically I had too much oxygen, and I was born earlier than I was supposed to be. So I'm originally from Arizona. I lived in Arizona most of my, 20 years of living. And my parents didn't know they didn't know many blind people, so they didn't know what they could do, or, how is she supposed to be successful, what have you. And so we got involved with the Foundation for Blind Children out in Phoenix, which I actually did a lot of recreational activities over there. And then my parents got a lot of education through them, on how blind people can be successful, working, going to school, citizens for the rest of their lives. And that really helped them out because they just didn't know what to do. Then, during my mainstream schooling in the beginning, I did struggle with academics because the teachers really didn't know what to do. They're like, how do we accommodate for this blind person? How is she supposed to do math, English, science, your basic curriculum? And I had somebody there that helped me through school. But I struggled because I wasn't getting assignments like everybody else got. And I really wasn't learning. So after my few years of school, my parents said, why don't we move you to the blind school, deaf and blind school out in Tucson? Because you really need this basic foundation for the rest of your life, and you're not getting it, so we want to help you as best as we can. And they wanted to learn as well. So they moved me out to Tucson. I lived in the dorms during the weekend, and I went back home to Phoenix on the weekends. And that was, I really enjoyed it, because not only did I learn academically, and they provided everything in Braille on time, I didn't have to sit there and wait for somebody to bring me my assignment 2 weeks after everybody else completed theirs. So they were very accommodating. The summer of my junior year, I went to the Colorado Center for the Blind out in Littleton. And that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had, because technically they pushed you. I mean, the first day we started the program, they technically said, we're not driving you anywhere. You're taking the train, you're taking the buses. And it was funny because after the first day, I asked, I said, where's the van going to pick us up? They said, what van? I said, aren't we supposed to get a ride back to the apartment? No, you're going to have to take the train and take the bus back to the apartment. That's what we do here. So the center really, technically said, you're on your own. This is reality. We're not going to drive you everywhere. And so not only were we expected to be independent with cane travel, but we were to cook our own meals. I mean, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And we lived in an apartment with, 4 or 5 other people I lived with. So it was kind of nice just to live with other people my own age that were learning similar, the same skills as I was.
Title: Employment at the Audio Information Network of Colorado.
The Audio Information Network provides newspapers and magazine services to people that are blind or have low vision, or might have, let's say, another print disability where they cannot read print. The volunteers come in and they record or read their program, and then the listeners have, let's say, a radio receiver through us, or a telephone, or another way of listening that's in their house, and they can turn on their radio or listen on the phone at whatever time of day or night they want. So let's say they want to listen to the grocery ads. Well, they can call in, or they can turn on the radio and listen to the grocery ads. So, and like I mentioned before, I am also a listener, and I find them to be, very useful. What I do is I am an office assistant. So usually, let's say around the summertime, we usually do surveys for listeners, and my job is to call the listeners and ask them about our services. What programs do you listen to? How often? How do these programs help you succeed in life? And, the whole point of it is so we know, how our listeners are using our services, how they decrease their isolation, how do they get out, how do they succeed with their college education. They want to keep up on the news just like everybody else does. So it's important for us to conduct those surveys. And the other thing I'm actually in the process of doing, it's going to take a while, but I'm learning how to write a proposal. And I'm doing that because I kind of want to know more about what goes into these, grants, and because we're a non-for-profit. And so I'm just learning about how do we get money, because I'm a listener, and I kind of want to know how our services get money. That way we can continue, listening to our programs and getting funding for the organization.
Title: Adaptive Resources.
So another thing I find useful is audio description. And I know you might wonder, what is that? Well, it's, when you watch a video for sighted people, they can see what's happening on the screen. Well, we can't, and so it kind of defeats the purpose of what's the whole point of this video, So we get audio description where somebody can describe what's going on in the movie, the visual descriptions. And there's a lot of movies that are audio described. I think there's a place out in Boston that does audio description. And then you can find the movies either at the public library, or I think there is the Blind Mice Mega Mall, which is online. You can subscribe. It's free. And you can download movies for free from there also. But I find them very, I enjoy watching movies because I'm not just sitting there listening to, I'm getting the whole movie. It's not just half of the movie, versus if it wasn't described, I would just be sitting there listening to what people were saying, but I wouldn't know what they were doing. And especially with the action movies, it's kind of hard to follow when you don't have somebody describing what's going on. So I find those to be very helpful. Just sit there and listen to the action, listen to, not only the dialogue, but what's going on visually. Another thing I found useful was DVR, which is the Division of Vocational and Rehabilitation. And what they do is they help provide services and/or technology to people who are blind or have other disabilities while they're going through schooling or work or another kind of vocational program. And I found them very useful because when I went to Little Rock, that wasn't free. And so DVR paid a heck of a lot of money for me to get that training. Also, when I went to the center, when I was doing that summer program. And they've also helped me a great deal in school because of all the technology. JAWS and a note taker and just even a laptop computer and stuff like that is not cheap. And so they've helped a great deal with just helping me be successful in school with the technology. I've also met a wonderful mobility instructor through there. I worked with her when I first started learning the Auraria campus out here. She taught me a great deal with how to just get around the campus and find my classes and also get involved in the physical, PE department. And so if it weren't for her, I probably wouldn't have my personal trainer right now. And I also wouldn't have the mobility skills. So I'd like to thank her. As for advice for parents, I would just suggest get involved in the blindness organizations. The NFB, the National Federation of the Blind, and the ACB, American Council of the Blind, they're both great organizations. They've got groups for everybody, technically. Groups for parents, groups for kids, groups for college students. I find them to be very helpful.
Title: Advice.
My message to those who are either newly blind or that have blind family, friends, relatives, what have you, is that blind people are just like anybody else. We can get up, we can work, go to school, have a social life, and there's the only thing, we just learn adaptations. But there's always ways around, I really enjoy being able to go to work, go to school. I meet so many friends who are going to school, sighted friends. And they always ask me, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you cook? I explain to them. It's through learning and getting help from others, especially blind mentors. The best thing to do is to get help through other people that have learned alternative techniques, other blind people. So, because they can explain how to cook, let's say, a grilled cheese sandwich or something like that on the stove, or bake something in the oven. They can explain how to do it. They can explain the techniques. And so my advice is, you can do anything that anybody else can do. You just have to learn the techniques.
Learning from adult role models who are blind or low vision has been a production of the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind, 33 North Institute Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado, 80903, 719-578-2100, www.csdb.org. Special thanks to Regis University for the use of the Denver Tech Center campus as a filming location. Videography by Deb Branch and Sean Levier, copyright 2014.